When the Greater Cleveland Partnership was created early in the 2000 or so century, we looked at the region and really it became quite evident that one of the things we weren't doing was telling our story. We were improving the region. A lot of new organizations were focused on different economic development opportunities, but it was very insular because we weren't telling our story to the rest of the world. We had marketing campaigns for the city and for the region in previous decades, but for various reasons those weren't sustained any longer, and we really felt like it was a missing piece. And so our strategy study again, about 10 years ago, identified marketing both the area and the region to the world as a very, very important next step. And so we set about trying to figure out how to do that. Eventually, that led to, after a lot of research and a lot of effort and a lot of input from the entire area, led to the creation of the Cleveland Plus campaign. Time and time again, the brand that worked best locally and externally was the Cleveland brand, but we realized by adding that plus, we really could convey everything else that was good about the region and build from that plus just as much as we could build from the brand Cleveland. And I think it's worked quite well for us.
Yeah. What the campaign allows us to do is it gives us the resources to target specific industries and find specific companies that would make sense here, and then use our resources to go after those companies and get into industry meetings or conferences or whatever to tell our story. So from a business attraction standpoint, the story that comes out of the campaign and then the resources that we get from it allows us to customize that message. Why should a biomedical company be here? Why should a polymer company be here? It's those kinds of very concrete messages for specific industries that this campaign allows us to tell.
Yeah, I think the efforts to attract visitors to Northeast Ohio really echoes what Joe and Tom talked about. Media tells a strong story, and part of what we do as an organization is to place advertising in very strategic places. But media can tell much broader stories and get to places that placed media simply can't. And quite frankly, there's opportunities to garner more touches to people from a PR standpoint than there are that we could ever do from purely media buys. Mm-hmm. And so having the efforts to talk to national media and reach out to them and be proactive is a huge part of the strategy of bringing visitors here. So we've really started to concentrate on what we're calling destination development of now in particular with the new aquarium, with the casino, with the convention center and medical mart, and the new addition to the art museum and MoCA, so many things that are going to bring literally millions of additional people here each year. Mm-hmm. We have to make sure that we do look, act, and feel like a visitor destination. So we actually started, we did a something called Destination Cleveland, a tourism summit back last year, and we had about 200 people to help us identify a strategy for the next 5 years of how we look, act, and feel as a visitor destination. So what we're doing now is starting to implement all of those different recommendations, but we're doing it with the help of a lot of people who naturally would take charge of those areas.
We are right smack on the beginning of an energy boom that is going to have significant effects on this region. From a job standpoint, it's going to bring a low-cost energy, and this is the shale gas development. It's going to bring low-cost energy to the region, which is going to help the basic manufacturing base we have here. It is going to have a gigantic effect on the supply chain of machinery that can be made here. So there's this development coming out of our own resources that has been here for forever, for centuries, millennium, that's now being taken advantage of. Completely opposite end of the spectrum of that is, I personally believe that the biggest development of the last 10 years economically here is the blossoming of entrepreneurship. You can't be an entrepreneur unless you have belief and confidence. And the more you're in an environment that starts to believe in itself, the more willing you are to try to start something new and try something different. We're the transition, the very tough transition we've been going through for the last 30 or 40 years here in our economy is because we didn't have enough new industries, enough new products being developed. That's now starting to happen.
What excites me about this region is that I think it's finally starting to acknowledge to itself that it's not what it was 50 years ago. Maybe that's because we're all getting old. But the reality is this is a very different city with a very different set of amenities, with a very different set of points that it can sell to attract people here to our community, with a different attitude about its lakefront, with a different attitude about diversity, with a different attitude about education. I think it's acknowledging its challenges while it continues to build on its assets. And I even sense the attitude is changing.
I honestly believe that the biggest thing holding this region back is our own lack of self-confidence and the woe is us attitude that we have. And I believe that what changes that, and what has started to and will continue to change that, is not about a slogan or a campaign internally that Cleveland is wonderful. It's people in this community starting to see all the great things happening in the good news. I mean, right now, if you look, the good news every day outweighs the tough news. And there's tough news in every city, in every region, just like ours. But the good things happening across the board are far outweighing that. And I think that will start to change a lot of the attitudes of the people who, just the general people who are here and how they feel about their own community. And again, as we all try to sell this community for lots of different things, the people here are the biggest salespeople.
It takes effort sometimes to realize that it's a very competitive world out there. There's a whole lot of communities that have a lot to offer, and if as many good things as we have, if you're not out there telling your story, people will want to be someplace else. You have to be out there. When we look at other parts of the country, the ones that stand out are not so much how clever their messages are, whatever. It is how long they have been in business, how long they have sustained the story. And no matter what business or what product you're in, people are marketing themselves. It's just one of the most fundamental things. It's not easy for a community to raise resources to do marketing, particularly in the Midwest where we don't tend to think of we got to go out and sell all the time. But no company would try to run its business without telling its story.